And that is Arseton Vega. Thank you very much. And now for the very center of this presentation tonight, I'd like to present Wole Soyinka.
Not an evening with Wole Soyinka, it's an evening with Cuba. So once again, I welcome Cuba in this joint celebration. Something will come out of this, by the way. It doesn't end with this formal recognition on anniversary. No. And that is why tonight I'm going to read a work in progress. And some of the poems which you heard tonight will appear in a collection later on, which will commemorate and also concretize what we've been trying to do here this evening. I should remind you, by the way, that this particular commemoration is being done in honor also of the United Nations Decade of Remembrance, that is anniversary of remembrance, for the enslaved peoples. And it's simultaneously the commencement of a second decade of the United Nations program for descendants of the enslaved peoples. Hence the title, the theme, which we try to wrap around today's presentation. Sand dune and ocean bed. I'm very glad that the curators began with, shall we say, the positive side of migrations, of dispersal. It's not all negative, it doesn't end always in a cul-de-sac. The very fact that we're able to welcome our kinfolk here, a bastion of culture and progress and revolution, Cuba, we're able to welcome them here as is an act of joy, worth a festivity, a festival in itself. However, migration takes several forms. There's voluntary migration, and there's violent migration, violent dispersal, with no volition at the beginning, the middle, or the end. Hence, the global recognition of the great harm that was done to the African continent, which was the hardcore resource center of slavery, of that criminal tendency of humanity to enslave other peoples. So Cuba is here both as a reminder, a tragic instance of our history on the African continent, but also as a spur to a continuing recollection that the task is not yet over. But that aberration known as slavery is still very much with us. Not only externally, but internally on the African continent. And so out of this, I've been thinking, very likely what will come out of this will be similar to this. You see, we've been dealing with the whole issue of migration over decades. We dealt with it here in the series that we had of the Black Heritage Festival. We dealt with it under a theme which was entitled The Black in the Mediterranean Blue, which was to recognize the fact that European culture and civilization owes a lot, far more than is generally acknowledged to the African continent. The route by which this cultural exchange took place is, of course, one of anguish. But again, it's also a reminder of the resilience of humanity. We should always remind ourselves also, when we talk of dispersal, which is what the slave trade, slavery itself has in common with the word migration, dispersal. We have to ask ourselves from time to time, how does it begin? Not just where does it begin, but how does it begin? I'm going to present this volume, which will be the kind of model for what will come out of this particular festival. We'll probably give it the same title, Sand Dune and Ocean, but you never can tell. Poetry is always a work in progress, as I shall also shortly demonstrate with a contribution of my own. So let me ask my adopted daughter, the ambassador, to accept this. We're going to work on this together. In a few months, we'll have a volume like this. Thank you so much. This poem, well, it's still a work in progress. The entire thing itself is a work in progress. We decided that we're going to have a video recording of aspect. I mentioned that to begin with. But it will be centered around the whole theme of continuity, because continuity is both a positive and a negative thing. If we do not have any sense of continuity, we'll repeat the same thing over and over and over again. Dispersal begins somewhere. When we have young people crossing the desert, there's a reason for it. There's a cause at source. And that source has not yet been resolved. It involves violence. And this particular poem was instigated, I hate to use the word inspired, when I look at a negative image or a negative thing, but that's what it is. Instigated by a recent happening here in relation to this business of dispersal, of uprooting without volition. And it's caused, instigated by an image which was captured of the most recent of this cycle of violent dispersal with the inhumanity, eviction without provision. So I entitled it Image in a Month of Abstinence, because we are in the month of abstinence, you know, Ramadan, Lent, denial and all that. Do we have the image ready? Yes, thank you very much. And halfway through, and in my section of this, we're going to play a snatch from an old song, again instigated by eviction, dispersal, Morocco. And I want to thank the Freedom Band who worked with me in a hurry. In fact, there are 3 versions, that's why I say it's a work in progress, 3 versions of this Morocco tune. They worked so hard, they began with one, they weren't satisfied, they went back to the studio, brought a second version, and then I understood just about an hour before this event that again been working and got the 3rd version. But so I apologize, we cannot bring that 3rd version into this because everything has been organized. So I'll use the 2nd version, but I'll read some of the lyric so that you don't feel too disappointed. So, image in a time of abstinence. Ecce homo, guard this image close. It defies originality, mocks discovery, banal as cast off attire. Only an old lady sitting on a stoop. Feel free to scan what memories cause our time-furrowed veins, rheumy eyes traversing time and distances, births, deaths, turbulence, strife and calm interludes. Matriarch perhaps of households, neighborly hand, grand hostess to strangers, you and me, yet wrapped in anonymity. But now her bequest is detritus, time, a time warp. A distant rumble closes in, gigantic arms unfurl, hover, sway in a choice morsel orchestral dance, descend. A prehistoric mastodon emitting only that all-purpose crunch that brooks no stoppage. Its heraldry is development. All that survives is memory. That once upon a time that dared to read community. A silent stare deflects reflection, silent but infinite in recriminations. Perhaps there's poetry in the air, but none perfumes the air this ancient breathes. Tuneless now, against the invading roar, a sigh that reads, have we not witnessed the same song and dance before? Miracle, what an encore to resound at this hour of frailty. His compassion out of fashion, roofs only very high and mighty. But if it's this season of penitence, no blame to you, your eminence, Ramadan and Lent in the prayer tent, socks, backs are blind to the suppliant's friends. Soldier come, soldier go. Can you hear? Is it playing? Yes. Please, up, narrow up.
Oh, what an illusion to build for land or ocean. For the waters never hurt us, only sharks be the final solution.
Miracle, what an illusion to make a home on land, a sea, or ocean. But the waters never hurt us. Now human sharks with the final solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you,